We also use a priori in the strategic sourcing world. Now, strategic sourcing is a bit of a broad church, but there are many ways we can use the fact that a priori provides simulations very, very quickly. So for example, I can take one component and simulate it in 79 countries of the world. And I can see that it's very cheap over in India and Vietnam, as you'd expect to see, and very expensive over in Switzerland in the Nordics. That's not a surprise. It's not news to me, but what is news is by how much? What is the actual difference? Because I could start to think about supplying through multiple zones to reduce risk, which is an important factor, especially today, and maintain a good cost. And also identify these regions of the world where there's an inflection from Spain to Portugal. And from Spain to Portugal is a land border with a big difference in cost that perhaps I could exploit when planning my manufacturing strategy. So once we can start to understand this very quickly, which we need to be able to, because we've got to make these decisions very early on and very quickly, I can start to run comparisons. So here's a set of parts that I've run the same simulation for, but in two different places. One in China, where I could have my own manufacturing plant. So this is now a make-buy decision, or I could be using a supplier in China versus Mexico as the other one. So I'm looking at two manufacturing regions or actual suppliers. Over here, the costs are about the same. So if I really want to produce in China, ideally, well, the costs are about the same compared to Mexico, so I'll keep those parts in China. However, the components over here are much more affordable in Mexico. They're much cheaper. Of course, there's a risk. And when the world changes, as we've already seen with pandemics, Brexits, and US elections, all the other factors are going to have an impact. Transportation, logistics, tax and duty, material price rises. So I can use aPriori to perhaps second guess some of that, to look at different scenarios where these numbers go up, but also to look for the big gaps that will allow me to accommodate large changes in the world's structure, in the global politics and economics. And therefore I can make decisions early on to say which are the best candidates with the lowest risk to put in those cost regions which are more affordable. So there are many more ways that we can help strategic sourcing make decisions just like that, but what does it mean to us? Well, let's suppose that half of my supply chain, that's 74 million, is flexible. The stuff that just has to be made in certain places for all sorts of reasons. I can't really mess around with that. But let's say half of it I can really explore the options on. And I took 2% out of the cost of that. That's worth 1.5 million per year. And over the life of the product, that could be worth about $7.5 million to us. That's significant. And the key to that is making strategic decisions as early on as possible, because these things are not easy to set up. And that's why aPriori's simulation with a digital twin, very, very fast and precise and reliable, allows us to make these kind of decisions.